Hello everyone, Patrick from Studio 300 here, and welcome to the Electronic Music Production course. In this series, we'll be learning how to compose and arrange a song in Logic Pro X using virtual instruments and pre-recorded loops. In today's video, we'll be introducing you to Logic Pro X, its virtual instruments and loops, and where they're located in the Logic user interface. I will also show you a couple settings you'll want enabled that will make the composition process simpler in the future videos. Let's get started. First, you're going to want to open Logic Pro and start a new session. Find the Logic Pro X icon in the dock below. Click on it, and a pop-up should ask what kind of session you want to start. We're going to start an empty project, but we are going to tweak the settings some. We're going to change the tempo from the standard 120 and we're going to make it a little faster. We're going to go 140. You can set the tempo to whatever you want, but to avoid your track sounding like a lot of other basic tracks, you'll probably want to change the tempo from the standard 120. I'm also going to change the key signature to G major. I'm going to leave the time signature at 4/4, but you could also change that as well. If you are going to be recording any loops, make sure your input device and output device are set to the correct interface to listen to playback. Once you've got your settings set, go ahead and hit choose, and that will open a new project. When your project opens, we're going to go ahead and start with a software instrument track. We'll just create one track for now. After creating our track, we can now see our track listed in the track window. And we also see a musical typing keyboard, which allows you to play the notes for the virtual instrument using the computer keyboard. We're going to go ahead and X this out for now, but we'll come back to it in a little bit. Before we go on, we want to change a few settings that will make the composition process a little easier on us. First, we're going to enable something called Capture Recording. Go up to the transport and right-click, then select Customize Control Bar and Display. Under the transport settings, go down to where it says Capture Recording, select it, and hit OK. With Capture Recording enabled, we can now go back and record something we just performed on the keyboard or a MIDI controller, even if we weren't recording to begin with. Here's an example. Let's say I was listening back to some music I had already recorded and was trying to come up with other ideas for this instrument as well. I can perform some notes, and we'll just do those few. Now, I wasn't recording, but if I hit Capture Recording, it recovers the notes I just played. It's a great way for non-professional musicians like myself to capture a spontaneous idea or performance that I may not be able to replicate. The next setting we want to enable is called Midi Chase. Before we enable it, go ahead and move the playhead to the middle of a note in the MIDI region we just created and hit play. You'll notice we don't hear the MIDI note that we were on. We only hear new notes as they're hit. If I do it again here, again, we don't hear a note until a new note is pressed. Now, go to File, Project Settings, MIDI. Click on Chase and check the Notes box. Now when we come back to our region, we'll hear the notes even if we start in the middle of them. This ensures that no matter what part of the song we're listening to later on when we're composing, we hear every note we've already added to the track all the time. The last setting we want to enable before we begin working on our project is called plugin linking. Go ahead and select the Alchemy plugin on our instrument track. In the upper right corner of the plugin, you'll notice these two links. Go ahead and select this. This enables plugin linking. Plugin linking will help speed up the mixing process later on. Now that we have enabled those 3 additional settings, we're going to go ahead and start taking a look at the loops available with Logic Pro X. You can go ahead and delete the region on this track. We don't need it. Then click on the Loop Browser button in the top right corner of Logic. At the top of the Loop Browser are a handful of different ways to filter what kind of loops you're looking for. You can search by the kind of instrument, the genre, or you can look up descriptors like acoustic, ensemble. There are two types of loops within the loop library. Software loops, indicated by the green icon next to the name, are MIDI-based loops. Go ahead and select the piano filter, and then click on the 70s ballad piano number 1 once. This will allow you to listen to the loop without moving it to the track. It will keep looping itself within there so you can hear how it loops on its own. If you want to listen to a different loop, go ahead and click that one. Let's click on piano number 3. So you notice it was a little different there. It was also shorter. You can see how long each loop is by looking at the number of beats it occupies. You can also see the tempo and key that the loop was originally created in. If we click on one of these loops and drag it to the track and play it back now, you notice that its tempo has matched the tempo of our song, so it's sped up. It's also matched the key we're in. So instead of it being in the C key, which is how we heard it when we clicked on it over here, it's now transposed it to the G major key on its own. Let's go ahead and compare them one more time. Software loops tend to be more forgiving when using them in a song with a different tempo or key than they were originally designed with. Let's go ahead and delete this ballad piano track. Now let's go ahead and select 70s rock piano number 1. We see that it has a tempo of 110 beats per minute and is in the key of E. Let's see what happens when we drag this to its own track in the track window. We get a pop-up that says the added audio file contains tempo information. Do you want to import it into this project? No, we don't. We want our tempo to stay at 140. Now when we play it back, it plays at 110 beats per minute. It did not change the audio loop's key to G major. While it is possible to try to use plugins to change the key of a pre-recorded loop, it is not recommended as it usually changes the overall sound of the instrument to sound fake. For this reason, when using audio loops, it is best if you sort by the key and only use audio loops that were originally in the key that your song is in. You will also typically want to try to find audio loops that are as close to the tempo of your song as possible so that audio sounds do not get stretched out or condensed in such a manner that makes them sound unrealistic, distorted, or chopped up. Let's go ahead and delete our 70s rock piano track and go back to our original instrument 1 track. Sometimes, while composing or arranging a song, you will need a part that you don't already have a loop for. You can use the virtual instruments to create your own MIDI track using the musical typing keyboard or the piano roll to write in your own MIDI notes. Let's take a look at each of those. Go ahead and deselect the loop browser. Then turn your attention to the left side of Logic Pro. Here we can see the instrument library already pulled up. If the library is not there, make sure you open the library by clicking on the upper left icon. The instrument library is broken up into different instrument types. as well as a folder called Legacy Instruments, which has a whole bunch of other instruments in there as well, also broken up by instrument type. Go ahead into the Legacy Instruments, click on the Logic, and open the acoustic pianos. Go ahead and select Pop Piano. This has now changed the instrument on this track to the sound of a pop piano. Go ahead and click Command and K on your keyboard. This will pull up the musical typing. Now when you press on your keyboard, you will play those notes on the selected instrument track. You can also create sustain by holding the Tab button. I'm going to press the record button and record just a few notes right now. When we look at our track here, we now see each MIDI note as it was hit. If you double click on the MIDI region, you get access to the piano roll, where you can move the notes or draw in new ones. Let's play this back and see how this sounded. I think 2 of those notes were wrong. I'm going to select this one and then hold Shift to select this other one. And I'm going to drag them to what I think was the right note. I like those notes more, but now let's move this other one over a little bit. Now I'm going to hold Command to change my select cursor to the pen cursor and draw in a new note. I'm going to move it where I want it. And we'll draw one more in here. Let's listen to the whole thing now. You'll notice that the audio ended before the actual note finished here. This is because the region is shorter than the note. Let's go ahead and click on the edge of the region to extend it out more, to encompass the whole note. Now, the entire note plays. What if I didn't want this to be a pop piano? What if I wanted it to be, let's say, an organ? If I go to my keyboards here, click on organs, and I'm going to go with the full cathedral. You can see my track has now changed from a piano to this cathedral sound. Pretty neat. Software instruments are a powerful tool when used for composing and arranging a new song. Their ability to change the sound from one instrument to another, as well as change wrong notes to the right ones after the fact, is a very helpful feature for both professionals and amateur composers. That concludes the first video. In the next video, we'll begin composing our song by creating an arrangement map and adding drummer and bass parts. See you then.